getting a late start today. Slept in, had trouble getting my video uploaded last night, so I had to finish doing that this morning as well. And just kind of chilled a little bit this morning. But we are off to a new coffee shop in town. One of Tommy's friends works there, so we're gonna go say hey to her and get some coffee. And it did snow. It's like icy snow. So I don't know if we're gonna get out today. We're both just kind of feeling like we want to chill and do nothing. So that might be what we do today. But yeah, I will show you the coffee shop if I'm able. Blue is at home today. He's hanging out with his toys. So wish him well, not destroying our tree. He usually does pretty good. And we will talk to you soon. We got our coffee. Tommy got an iced mocha, per usual. I got a sweet potato cream latte. It's like their signature. I'm excited. It smells like cinnamon and pecan. It smells amazing. And then they had some banana bread. We got that as well. We're excited. Welcome to the city, new coffee shop. Deer. Blue likes to lay in the sheets when we're changing into the clean sheets. Oh boy. What are you doing? Are you comfy? Are you comfy? Are you comfy, bud? Hey guys, so I thought I would hop on here one more time before I hunker down for the night and get some journaling in and do my neti pot as I was talking about the other day. Probably eat a little bit more. That booster shot has literally knocked me out like for the whole day today. We got back from the coffee shop. I laid down, I took a bath and took some like painkillers and just, yeah, it's really taken its toll on me. It's like I have a favorite color or something. But yeah, so I thought I'd hop on here before I kind of finish out the night of vlogging and talk about boundaries, especially around the holidays, because that is something I am learning and trying to improve in my life, and it is a difficult thing to do, to set boundaries, You cannot control what another person is going to do once you set a boundary, but you can control continuously setting your boundary and making adjustments as needed if others are not respecting your boundaries. So I came up with a list of boundaries, another notebook, around different areas of our life. If you watched any of my earlier videos before this Vlogmas thing, I did one on the wellness wheel, and hopefully you were able to look into that a little bit more on your own. It's really interesting stuff about just how well-rounded our life can be if we focus on wellness in all the different areas of our life. So I found ways that you could incorporate boundaries into all the different areas of your life as well, and there's probably more that I'm not even thinking about. So if you have had to set any boundaries or think of any other boundaries that I'm not thinking about that maybe will revolve around the holiday season, feel free to drop those in the comments below. I would love to hear those. I read a great book recently. Well, I actually haven't even finished it. It was just like so much information to take in that I kind of had to take a break on it. But it's called Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And the author's name, I believe I'm saying it right, is Nedra Tawwab. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. But it's an awesome book about setting boundaries with all different kinds of people in your life, all different areas of your life, whether it's your work boundaries, whether it's family boundaries, whether it's friend boundaries, whether it's spousal boundaries, whether it's boundaries with yourself. And that's kind of been my influence for what I'm talking about tonight. I think boundaries can really just make life a lot better for our own sake. And I don't believe boundaries are selfish. I believe boundaries are a form of self-respect and self-care, and allow you to be the best version of yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself in a world with other people who are also the best versions of themselves. So I'll get started on my list here. So back to the wellness wheel, we've got physical health, so physical boundaries. Some examples of that would be not overeating, eat what you want to eat, enjoy the holidays, but setting that boundary for yourself of when you're going to stop, what you're going to say no to. Another physical boundary would be physical touch. Going back to the love languages, physical touch is one of the love languages. However, some people aren't comfortable with any form of physical touch, whether it's due to trauma or they're just not comfortable with it. And I see this a lot with hugging. And I think some people expect hugging, especially at family get-togethers. And if you're not comfortable with hugging, you don't have to hug anybody. That doesn't mean you're being rude. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. But you have that right to set that boundary for yourself and for your children. Forcing children to hug somebody that they don't want to hug, to me, is not okay. Children are allowed to have boundaries as well. So I think people need to respect that, but if they don't, there's consequences, and those consequences can be whatever you choose them to be. Another boundary or area of wellness is mental health, mental boundaries. To take note of what you're consuming during the holidays. If you're watching a lot of news, if you're on social media a lot, that might be affecting your mental health. And you can take control of that. Really, all of these boundaries are areas that you can take control of your life in your life. Nobody is responsible for you except for you. And I think we live in a culture where we want other people to do things for us all the time, and I think we really need to, as a whole, learn to set these boundaries for ourselves so that, again, we are all living well communally, live well individually, so you can live well together as a whole world. Next one I have is emotional health, emotional wellness. It's okay to take a break. If there's a large get-together, large gathering, and you need to take time for yourself, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling anxiety, step back, maybe even stay home, maybe don't go to the gathering. Whether it's a work party or a family get-together, you do not have to go to anything. And if anybody tells you otherwise, that is their own personal beliefs being pushed on you, and you do not have to follow those. That is something that I am working on. I always feel pressured to go to things when others want me to do things. And just know that we do not have to do things that other people want us to do. That's our emotional boundary, and we can take a break if we need a mental break, if we need an emotional break, if we need to just stay home and recoup. We are allowed to do that. Another thing kind of similar would be a social wellness, social boundary. Maybe you can only hang out with somebody for so long. Maybe there's so many get-togethers and holiday parties and you just can't do them all mentally or physically or emotionally. It's okay to take a break from those, again, including if they're family. I feel like there's always this kind of ringer that you can have boundaries except with family members, and that is absolutely not true. If anything, family members are who we typically need to have boundaries with the most, because we either grew up with them or we married into them, and there's a little bit of like, I don't want to say enmeshment because that's a really intense word to use, but there's kind of this idea that family gets to jump over that boundary line and it's acceptable, and that's absolutely not true. You are still an individual. You are still a person separate from your family, and you get to decide what works for you and what doesn't work for you, not your family. Spiritual health, I feel like this one could be, you could have a boundary in the act of your intention for why you're celebrating what you're celebrating, why you're choosing not to celebrate something. Because everybody has a different spiritual background and what they believe and what they're into. And I'll get on the history of Christmas in a couple days here because we've got some stuff to talk about. But yeah, so I feel like set up a boundary for that, like what you're willing to talk about, what you're willing to believe in. That's your choice. Nobody else can decide that for you, so that is your choice. Environmental wellness or environmental boundaries. This one I could think of boundaries in the act of giving time to the community, maybe giving back, but also don't overcommit yourself. If you are burning yourself out or you are overgiving financially or something, it's not going to be good for anybody. You're going to be hurting in the end. Other people are going to be hurting in the end. It's kind of the old saying, like don't pour from an empty cup. Don't overcommit yourself in the community aspect of the holidays. Again, I think it's great to get involved and give back and all those types of things, but know your boundary, know your limits, and say no when you have to. The next one, kind of mentioned in this, but financial wellness is sticking to a budget. Maybe it's already too late being into December now, but for Tommy and I, we set up a Christmas budget a year in advance, and we put a little bit into that each paycheck, and that's how much we spend on gifts. I know some people take out loans and things, and you have to do what you have to do. I can't speak for everybody's financial situations, but I don't think you're setting yourself up for success if you are overspending on gifts and have to make that up the rest of the year. I think you're digging yourself into a deeper hole, so maybe set up a budget, stick to that budget. Again, don't overcommit to giving in the community and things like that if you cannot afford it. Give what you can and stick to some sort of financial budget for yourself and your family. Occupational health around the holidays. This to me is kind of that work-life balance mentality. Go to work, do your job. Maybe if you want to work some overtime to make up some holiday money to spend on gifts, but also know your limits. Know when you don't want to go to something. Know that you don't want to go to a holiday party or a holiday work function unless it's a required mandatory type thing. You don't have to go to those things. I know some people, including myself, have kind of a people pleaser mentality and they feel the need to go to these things, or others will say whatever. I've been in situations like that where people have kind of, well, don't you want to go? It's going to be fun. Oh, I can't believe you're not joining in the work Christmas gift exchange. And it's like, people are going to say what they want to say, but it's your time, it's your mental health, it's your income, it's your life. Nobody can force you to do anything you don't want to do. I don't think it's an excuse to turn into a selfish hermit and stay home all the time and only care about yourself. But I do think that you can know your limits, know your boundaries, know what you want to do. I mean, just listen to yourself. Your body will tell you what it is that you want to do. I truly believe that. You can feel it in your stomach, you can feel it in your soul. I believe that if you give yourself even 5 minutes, just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and feel if you actually want to do something or not, you can figure that out. The final one I have is recreational health, which I actually don't think I included in my wellness wheel. Different psychologists and things think that there's different amounts of categories of the wellness wheel, and some had this one, some didn't, and I didn't read about this one until after I made my last video. But recreational health is like anything you're doing for fun, really, or enjoyment in your life. And I think that a boundary for this could be actually to do those things rather than like holding yourself back from doing something. But if you want to do something fun, do it. If you want to go play in the snow, if you want to make a snowman, if you want to bake cookies, make time for those things in your life. Again, only you have control of your time, of your life. Nobody else does. So make time for it. Make time to rest. Like, we call this like the holiday stressful season. It doesn't have to be stressful. We're allowing it to be stressful. We can set up these boundaries to where we have time to relax and to gather our thoughts and gather ourselves. And it doesn't have to ruin an entire month out of our life every year and be that stressful. So just like my final thoughts kind of on the boundary thing, whether it's around the holiday season or whether it's just in your life in general. Again, I think there are times when you set a boundary and people don't like it. They will argue with you, they will push back, they will question things, they will possibly try to manipulate you. And all we can do is keep setting our boundaries. Just keep setting them. Just keep setting them. Just keep setting them. No is an entire sentence. You don't need to explain yourself to anybody, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, or Joe Schmo off the street. You can explain yourself if you would like to, but I know in my case, because I'm a people pleaser, I feel the need to over-explain things, and that kind of gives the other person more ammo or more negotiating skills to try to change my boundary. And I'm just learning that I need to say less and say what my boundary is, repeat my boundary, and stop talking. The other person really is showing their true colors when they try to push your boundaries, and I really feel that if you don't respect someone's boundaries, you don't respect that person. And I feel like maybe let that sink in a little bit. I just got a little like chill saying that. Maybe it's some truth in there. Because if you really respect a person, you will respect what they need and don't need from you. And yeah, that's like a hard lesson that I have been learning about setting boundaries and repeating my boundaries and not budging on my boundaries. My boundaries and your boundaries aren't up for negotiation. They're your boundaries so that you can function and be a successful person in your world. And not everybody's going to understand why you do the things you do or why you don't do the things that you do, and that's not for them to know unless you choose for them to know, and you don't have to tell them. And again, this goes for family as well as it goes for everybody else in your life. You don't get a free pass just because you're related. That's not how it works. You're still an individual person, and you still get to choose what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Now, I will say with setting boundaries, there's a way to do it respectfully. I mean, if you're like calling somebody a name because they're not doing what you want, like that's not being very respectful either. And then also, the big thing is communicating the boundaries. Say what you want to do. Say what you don't want to do. Say what you want, what you don't want. I think an issue I struggle with is I have uncommunicated or incommunicated. I don't know what the word would be. I fail to communicate my boundaries. I just keep them inside. I know I don't like something or don't want to do something, and then it just brews up inside of me because I think the other person should just know that I don't want to do these things. And that's not how everyone functions. Really, that's not how anybody functions. You can't guess what somebody's boundaries are. Yet I also have found that when I have set a boundary, they get pushed, they get crossed, especially by some certain people in my life. And I just need to keep setting those, and maybe you need to keep setting those with people in your life, and not budge. I mean, you're the only one that's going to feel the stress and the anxiety and the whatever comes with all of that for your boundaries being crossed. So set them, and then if they get crossed, consequences. That's what you do with children. It's what you have to do with adults when they're not respecting your boundaries, because you are a individual person and you can make choices for yourself. So that was very deep. But I'm going to get journaling because clearly I need to get some stuff out of my head. But hopefully that was helpful for some of you. Again, that book is Set Boundaries, Find Peace. Great book, but it's a very practical book. There's some exercises and things. But maybe it will help keep the holidays stress down for you to set some boundaries in your life. And it's also helpful for all of us to respect other people's boundaries when they do set them. Even if they're uncomfortable, even if we don't like them, they're not for us, they're for the person setting them. So just remember that, and I'm gonna leave you all here, and I will catch you tomorrow. Bye, guys.